Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this Rangers review team news special, you could say, as the team has just dropped from Ibrox to take on Hibs in Michael Beale's first competitive game as Rangers manager. So myself and Johnny McFarlane will give you our reaction, and you can give us your reaction as well to the team that you can see in the ticker below. I'll just give you a rundown of that side. It's McGregor in goals, Tavernier, Sands, Lundstrom and Devine at the back, Jack and Kamara, the two holding midfield pair, you'd imagine, Tillman, Kent and Morelos, and Sakala, the forward line. The big news is that the top line is that there's no Antonio Cholak in the squad. I'll give you a rundown of the substitutes bench as well. John McLaughlin, Stephen Davis, Ravi Matondo, Scott Wright, Ben Davis, Charlie McCann, Scott Arfield, Robbie Fraser and Alex Lowry. So no Antonio Cholak and no Leon King, Johnny. One has to assume potential injuries there with those two.
Well, I think it seems likely that they would be in the squad if that was the case. Antonio Cholak, you would imagine, would be an option that he would want, but perhaps not. We don't know. We'll have to find out after the game, or potentially, I suppose, there's a Sky interview in the run-up to the game.
Yeah.
So I think those will be the questions that will be getting asked of the manager, that's for sure. It looks to me like there will be an appearance at the back for Lundstrom, which we've not seen for a while, certainly since Giovanni van Bronckhorst used him in that position last season, and primarily, I think, in European games. You may correct me, there may have been the odd domestic game he played there, but it wasn't too often. But I get that. I think that's a smart move, just to give you a little bit of extra experience in there. But if Leon King has picked up a knock in the last wee while that we weren't aware of, then obviously it makes sense that Lunny would be the only other person that could probably realistically fit in there. It's clear that Connor Goldson isn't fit, because he would have been on the bench if he was. Clearly doesn't feel ready for it. It's Ben Davies is on the bench, but clearly isn't ready to start, because if he was, he would have started.
Yes.
So there's some really interesting choices here, Derek. I mean, we're talking about it today, and I don't think there's anyone going to be that surprised that Glenn Kamara starts or Malik Tillman starts. But I think Fashion Sakala, now, this is something I did mention today in the video. I'm proud of myself. I did bring it up. The reason that Fashion Sakala was brought was to play in a front two, and we've never seen him there. We've never actually seen him there domestically. So it's very interesting. Michael Beale comes in, and the first thing he does is to pair Fashion Sakala and Alfredo Morelos, and that's an exciting partnership, and it's one that we haven't seen, and it's one that when the Rangers review first started prior to last season, Derek, I think we were all pretty excited about. You know, the mix of physicality and pace, the ability to both challenge defenders but get in behind, the sheer number of goals that's in that duo. You know, if you get Alfredo Morelos fit and firing and psychologically pinned, psychologically switched on, then I think Fashion Sakala can do a lot of damage alongside him.
Yeah. Well, Michael Beale did allude to that in his pre-match press conference yesterday, that he would look to play with two strikers. So it looks like a Morelos and Sakala front two pairing. Ryan Kent and Malik Tillman, of course, will be the sort of support cast in behind them. Listen up, it's going to be interesting. I think there's many comments coming in surprised at the team. The big news, as I mentioned, no Cholak, no Leon King in the squad. Connor Goldson, as Johnny said, not fit enough to make the matchday squad either. Ben Davis on the bench. I'd imagine we may see him at some point. It depends how the game goes as well. John Lundstrom might have a blinder at the back, and James Sands as well, who's played at the back for on a number of occasions for Rangers as well. Big night for Adam Devine. We did say that he was likely to get the nod at left back. I really hope he has a good game. Big things expected of him, of course. Jack and Kamara in the middle. That was, I think, the big debate was who would. I think Glenn Kamara was going to get the nod because Michael Beale is a big fan of him, but it was whether it would be Jack or Lundstrom partnering him in the midfield. But the fact that that Leon King doesn't make the squad that tells you that John Lundstram, of course, will look to be deployed as a makeshift centre-back. On the bench, Johnny, any names on there that are surprises? Robert Fraser on there, of course, I think, to give cover to Adam Devine. Other than that, good to see Ben Davies on there. I'd imagine we might see Rabbi Matondo at some point this evening. It's just that the usual players on there. Alex Lowry, good to see him. I'd imagine he'll play a part at some point as well.
Yeah, there's not a lot of depth of quality on that bench.
No.
It's not a bench you would want to be going up against Celtic with. There's not a lot of options there. Yes, you've got Davies, who could obviously strengthen the starting 11 if he was fit. Scott Arfield, arguably. But in terms of the number 9, we talked about Cholak earlier on and not being available. Rabbi Matondo can clearly play there. We saw him perform quite well against Leverkusen in the friendly match. Now, he's the only other one that, for example, if there was an injury to Sakala or Morelos, you could actually throw in there. So Rangers are a little bit light. I'm surprised a little that maybe Robbie Ure isn't in that on that bench. Yeah. Given we know he's got the ability to make an impact. He's already scored for the first team, doing really, really great things for the B team. If Morelos was to get injured, I think Ure's physical strength and power would be a better option maybe than throwing on Rabbi Matondo up there. But listen, Michael Beale knows more about football than I do. So perhaps he's got a good idea of someone else that's on that bench that can fit in. But maybe even Alex Lowry could play as a number 9. I don't know. Certainly doesn't strike me as a guy who would play as an out-and-out striker, but it's not impossible. We'll have to wait and see on that front.
Yeah, James Perry gets in touch. Where's Josh? He is at Ibrox, James. He's having technical difficulties at Ibrox, so he can't join us at the moment. But
that's a very polite way of saying Josh forgot the cable to his laptop. So it's at Ibrox without the ability to come from his laptop. Now, he did offer to come in from his phone, but the sound's not great. We've done it before, and it's never perfect. So you're stuck with us and our 2 ugly mugs, I'm afraid. The handsome Hagi lookalike is tucked away in the press room, probably enjoying a nice wee dinner and a cup of coffee, speaking to our colleagues as we speak.
Yeah, no doubt. And speaking of Hagi, that was a lovely link there, Johnny. Of course, he signed a new deal at Rangers. William Campbell gets in touch. Hi, William. Is it good news on Hagi? Been okay for Rangers, but now with such a serious injury, does it make sense? Well, it's a lot of faith and trust in him. Of course, we've not seen him since that ACL back in January. But I think it's been met with the widespread satisfaction from the majority of the Rangers supporters, Johnny, at this one, me included. I think it's a good bit of business tying them down, and that is the other senior player that Michael Beale alluded to yesterday.
Yeah, to answer William's question, I think it is good news. And yes, he has been out, but yes, it does make sense because Ianis Hagi comes back from his injury and plays really well until the end of the season. People are saying, how on earth have we allowed a situation to unfold that has seen him going into the final year of his contract when he's playing out of his skin? Surely people should have known that Ianis Hagi needed to be extended. To me, you've got to look at what the player's capable of. Yeah. And this player is a guy who's got a pass, who's a very good interpreter of space. He's got a good shot, and he's very calm when he's presented with a chance. He's kind of a mix in terms of his style between a number 8, a number 10, and a number 9. He's got a lot of the facets that you need for each of those positions. What he isn't is a speedster with explosive pace off the mark or a guy who twists and turns. And that's all good news, given that he's had an ACL and cruciate ligament issue, anterior cruciate ligament. Yeah. Because if he was one of those players, you just wouldn't be quite sure, Derek, whether or not the injury would have an impact on his game. Because he's not, because it's the kind of injury that won't affect his skill set, I think it's definitely smart to get him tied up. Of course, we don't know how long he's tied up for. It's a bit of a strange way that Rangers have done these last 2 players, is they've not announced the length of contract, which I find a bit baffling because it's a good news story that they've signed up on a longer contract. Fundamentally, once the contracts wind down, it will emerge how long their contract was for anyway. So I think you might as well announce it. I don't understand why they wouldn't do that. Seems a bit strange, I have to say. And especially when if you've got Hagi tied up for another 2 years on top of the year and a half he's got left, it's all good. So yeah, I don't quite understand that. I think we understand that Leon King will be there for another 4 years. It's a further 4 years on top of his deal. So
June 2026, I believe it is with Leon King's. But yeah, you're right on Hagi. No actual date.
So 2026, so three and a half years.
Yeah.
So yeah, Hagi, I think it would be interesting to know when he signed until. And as I say, it'll come out anyway. So I think the club might as well put that stuff out, but they've decided against it for whatever reason.
Yeah. Let's get to some of the comments that are coming in here. Stuart Melvin gets in touch. Is this a 4-2-3-1 then? Or is he putting Sakala up top with Morelos? I think he is going to put Sakala up top with Morelos, Stuart. Massey gets in touch. -26 here in Alberta watching to watch the Rangers smash head. I'm sure that's in Canada, if I'm not mistaken, isn't it? Alberta? -26. Wow, that makes us back here in the UK sound like we're in tropical, pretty much a heat wave here, but based on that temperature. That's absolutely incredible. Graham Mitchell gets in touch. Is it a back three or Lundstrom definitely playing at the back? It's not going to be a back three, Johnny, is it? I can't see it being a back three.
Well, who's your three centre backs if it's a back three? So Lundstrom can play as a centre back. So Sands can play as a centre back. Who's the third centre back?
You're not bringing Tavernier or Devine back as a back three, are you? So,
well, it's possible, mate. It's absolutely possible. I certainly think Tavernier has the skill set to play right centre back. I've been saying that for quite a long time. But then, who's the other wing back? So you've got Devine on one flank. Would the other one? Would
Sakala? Yeah, he's not getting any. He's not a defensively minded, is he?
I don't think so.
No,
I think we're looking at a 4-2-1-1-2 almost. So you've got a base of that midfield in Kamara and Jack, who are going to expect to get the ball and dominate it.
Yeah.
And provide a solid base, a foundation for those two fullbacks to push right up the pitch. Malik Tillman will be given a bit of freedom to get into the final third.
Yeah.
And Michael Beale's already talked about that at the last press conference after the game against Leverkusen. Ryan Kent will go all over that front third of the pitch, I think, but primarily he'll pick up a lot of space in behind the front two. And then I think you'll have Sakala and Morelos effectively as two number 9s. So two guys that are expected to get in around the box and sniff out chances.
Yeah.
Alfredo, we know what he'll do. He'll drop into the space in front of the centre-backs and try and pull them out. And then Sakala will jump in behind there and try and stretch that defence. It'll be very interesting to see if Hibs are cognizant of this, are aware of it, have thought about it, because it's slightly different to how Rangers have set up in the past, but it's something that I think anyone who watched the Gerrard team in the final knockings of the 55 season will be aware of this, because it's something we've seen before.
Yeah, Massey's get back in touch. It was -35 3 days ago. Holy moly. I don't fancy that whatsoever. Nope. If you're heading to Ibrox, if you're watching this, I'd imagine you're already there, maybe watching on your phone or what have you. I hope you're wrapped up warm, because it is Baltic. Stuart says...
Eric, see -35. I mean, what happens if you go for a pee outside in that weather?
It just freezes.
I mean, that's worrying. Don't do it.
Stuart Melvin says possibly a
4-2-2.
Yeah, absolutely. Brazilian style formation may well be. We'll find out at 8 o'clock when the game gets underway and David P gets in touch. Remember the days we had centre backs? Oh, glorious days those were. It has been a bit of a nightmare this season, not just in centre backs, but the whole squad. Of course, it's been not great to see so many long-term injuries. Sure, -35 separates the men from the boys. Yep, he says the breath would freeze. Yep, listen, the headline news is ready. Teddy Bear gets in touch. Cholak not even on the bench yet. He and Leon King not in the match day squad. I'll give you a rundown of that team just before we go. Just a reminder as well, if you're on Twitter, folks, we'll be doing our halftime spaces today. So it's a little discussion at halftime on the first half events. If you're on Twitter, then feel free, just join up and you can have a listen to us give our assessment of the first 45 minutes. But that team, that Michael Beale's first competitive match in charge, is McGregor in goal. Back four, it looks like, of Tavernier, Lundstram, Sands, and Devine, Kamara and Jack in the midfield. Tillman, I'd imagine, slightly further up alongside Ryan Kent, supporting what looks like a front two of Alfredo Morelos and Fashion Sakala. And Alfredo does love a goal against Hibs, Johnny. This is a big night for him, is it not?
Yeah. I've just got a feeling that Alfredo Morelos is going to be decisive tonight. It's just so Alfredo that he would be so bad for so long. There's a new manager, and all of a sudden it's a honeymoon period. He's positive. He's bang up for it. He wants to show people what he's capable of. And all of a sudden, captain goals once again. I think Rangers are going to win and win comfortably tonight. I like the look of this team. I think it's very attacking. There's a lot of bodies in the box. I think it's going to be challenged when it comes to the physical aspects of the game. I think Hibs have got some quality attacking players in there. Kevin Nesbitt is obviously back from injury, and I think we'll certainly test Rangers backline tonight because it is a bit makeshift.
Yeah.
And I just think the way Hibs will look to set up will be to be quite physical, to be difficult to beat. They've got Porteous in there, obviously, at set plays. They've got the big guy, Rocky Bushiri, who is a tank.
He's a unit, yeah.
Paul Hanlon isn't a small guy either. Even the other players in the lineup, Chris Cadden's quite a physically strong. Joe Newell's quite a physically strong player. They're a big physical team, this Hibs team. And Rangers will have to be very, very careful at set pieces and corners, especially, to make sure that they're not giving away stupid goals. So that's one to watch out for, and one I think Michael Beale will be keen to make sure they're absolutely switched on 100%.
Yeah. Just to give you a rundown of that Hibs side, it looks like a 3-5-2 for them. David Marshall in goal, back three of Porteous, Bushiri and Hanlon. Five across the middle, Cadden, Campbell, Newell, McGuinness and Cabraja, with Nisbet and Yuan up top for them. They're on a poor run of form, Hibs, at the moment. I think the break maybe came at a good time for them because I think it's just 1 win in 5. But listen, every match is a cup final against Rangers, isn't it? So they need to turn up tonight. I think they will. There's a great display going to be there, a great tifo display from the Union Bears. They should be one to watch as well. And let's hope that the performance on the park is one that heats up the fans, as Michael Beale was saying yesterday, because it's a bitterly cold night, but certainly a lot of excitement ahead of this one. Just a reminder, folks, we will be on the halftime spaces on Twitter, and then at full time, no doubt we'll probably do a little reaction video at some point, so keep your eyes peeled for that. But certainly enjoy the game, and if you're heading out there, wrap up warm. We'll speak to you a little later on. Bye for now.